Mayall. Hello, it's me. Fantastic!
In 1986, the BBC aired a 5-part serial of George's Marvellous Medicine by Roald Dahl on Jackanory. Jackanory was a show that ran on the BBC's children's television block from 1965 to 1996, with the very simple format of a well-known TV actor reading a popular children's story to camera, broken up by various illustrations. Whilst that may seem like a very bare-bones and cheap idea for a show, this particular serial was the perfect example of how well this could work, as it was read by Rik Mayall, a popular comedic actor with an engaging eccentricity and excitement that fit Roald Dahl's source material perfectly. Mayall would not only be invited back 2 more times, but he would go on to get his own show, first on ITV and then on Channel 4, with a very similar format. It swapped out the rotating hosts with Rik Mayall, the custom illustrations with animation, and the popular books with fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm, adapted to fit Mayall's style. Oh, and the chair is a giant puppet now. Grim Tales with Rik Mayall features Rik Mayall as himself wearing pyjamas and a dressing gown in a living chair with paws and giant chicken legs, narrating various Brothers Grimm tales interspersed with animation. At 10 minutes long, they are short and sweet, just the right amount of wonder and humour. Mayall is an indispersible part of this show. He's more engaging to watch than the animation. I honestly can't imagine a better storyteller. The stories are adapted by Anne Caulfield and Anthony Horowitz, the latter of which has since become a highly successful children's author and screenwriter, and they absolutely knew how to write to Mayall's strengths as a performer. There's a sense of randomness and some added slapstick violence that feels like it's a child-friendly version of these elements from Mayall's own work, whilst keeping the spirit of the original tales intact.
Give me some white flour, quick!
Get in the queue first.
Get stuffed, said the wolf. Pop! Ooh, what a rude young man, said a granny. Bosh, said the wolf. Don't you bosh my wife, said a grandad. Well, bish, bash, bosh, said the wolf, and threw the grandad into a strawberry gatto. And he was such a wolf, he head-butted all the grannies in the shop and ran off with a big bag of flour.
These changes in presentation are very much cosmetic, and fans of the original tales should be delighted by them, as the writers treat the stories they are adapting with respect. They made the wise move of choosing a lot of stories with an inherent sense of humour to them. There's plenty of great tales of people getting their comeuppance, so it fits perfectly. Whilst they include a handful of better known ones, such as Hansel and Gretel and Rumpelstiltskin, they are mostly obscure ones, meaning that this is likely to be your introduction to many of these stories. This show is dripping with personality. The impish persona that Mayall adopts when hosting the show, unlike the comically pathetic and grotesque incompetence of his sitcoms, is something of a chaotic ally to the viewer. He still has some of the comic ego of his typical characters, but he's certainly someone you're more inclined to spend time with. I read in a YouTube comment somewhere, so take this with a pinch of salt, that Mayall said he only did this for the money. I honestly don't understand the vitriol that people have for actors who admit to doing one role or another for the money. If you've ever known an actor, you know that they can go for months, even years without job offers, and therefore don't have the luxury of turning things down, and even when the actor is a big name, I think it's perfectly reasonable for them to take what work they can get because they never know when that bubble is going to burst. This performance may have been for the money, but it certainly doesn't mean that he phoned it in. He earned every damn penny! Besides, his kids would have been the target age group at the time, so I imagine that was part of the reason why too. Also, fun fact, his makeup was done by his wife, Barbara. Just because I think that Mayall's performance is so engaging that it's more enjoyable than the animation, certainly doesn't mean that the animation is bad. They are all made by different animators from small animation studios, so there's something different every time, and they often go for an abstract style so you get to fill in the gaps yourself, like a Quentin Blake illustration. Most of these are varying forms of stop motion, and it's always fun to see what they come up with. Other areas of the show's design, such as sets, costume and props, are simple but effective at establishing the atmosphere. The bold colours of the lighting also establish the tone of different scenes very well, and make it feel like you're watching an intimate little stage production, which I really liked. And that chair! It's such a fantastic puppet that has multiple utilities and adds a further layer of wonder to the show. You don't get the impression that the show had a big budget, but you can tell that it used it wisely. I highly recommend these to anyone who is a fan of Rik Mayall, anyone who is a fan of fairy tales, and anyone who likes to see a variety of animation styles. And thankfully, I'm all three of those. I was genuinely sad when I realised I'd finished watching them all. Of course, I highly recommend showing the show to kids. If this doesn't hold their attention, then the Gen Alpha brain rot is worse than I thought. By the way, if you want me to review his Jackanory appearances next Rik May, then please do let me know in the comments below. There's a bunch of his stuff I want to cover at some point, so it would really help me if you guys could help narrow it down for me. I read all my comments and I reply to as many as I can. Unlike Jackanory, Grim Tales did see a VHS release, at least in Australia. There are various VHS strips that you can find on YouTube, one of which has thankfully been upscaled. It also got released as audiobooks on cassette, which you can find online as well. It looks like it also had a temporary exhibition dedicated to it at the Museum of Moving Image in London, which sounds like it would have been amazing. I wonder what they had on display. If you went, I'd absolutely love it if you could tell me about it in the comments below. If you want to see me discuss the first time Rik Mayall made waves by sitting in a chair and talking to camera, you can watch my review of Kevin Turvey Investigates and Kevin Turvey Behind the Green Door here. See you soon!